Thank you for joining this lecture. Intelligence is not a quality that humans are differentially endowed with. African traditional religion has an exact science demonstrates that each of us is a divine power that ignores itself. The goal of this lecture is to show how everyone can and must work to manifest this spiritual power that is intelligence by becoming aware of their true spiritual nature and their inseparability from God.
Welcome to the channel Zilalowa of Dr. Yaluka. To begin, please subscribe and tick the notification bell in order not to miss our videos. Thank you for joining.
The theme of our lecture is your right to divine intelligence. But as usual, we will begin by presenting to you the lecturer that I am and his academy, which is Nsilaloa. At last, we will establish scientifically, thanks to the systematic natural theology offered by the chemical cosmological argument, we will establish the notion of intelligence and the fact that it is a right for each one of us. I'm Dr. Katezwa Lubanja Luka. I hold a PhD honor degree from Trinity Graduate School of Apologetics and Theology from Kerala in India. As an apologist, I created Nsilalowa, a modern academy of African traditional spirituality, an academy that comprises two branches. An academic branch, which is called Institut des Sciences Animiques. Within the setting of this branch, I make researches in African traditional epistemology and theology. And I publish 32 scientific papers that are freely available at www.academa.edu. And I also authored 50 books that are available at amazon.com. Aside from the academic branch, which is the Institut des Sciences Animiques, Nzilalowa comprises also an initiatory branch whose name is also Nzilalowa. So within Nzilalowa, we have the Institut des Sciences Animiques and Nzilalowa. Nzilalowa has an initiatory school and introduces the Black people to the practice of divine science. African traditional religion has divine science. Many people don't know that African traditional religion can be practiced at two levels, at the divine level and at the human level. We teach the practice of this religion at the divine level, which implies working to become back a Nazareth, a child of God who have been in heaven, working to develop a power that must be transmitted, perpetuated through human mystery, working to heal spiritually, and working to fight witchcraft through the means of love. All these four aims implies the use of the purification of thoughts and the succor of holy ancestors, those who are called the ancestors who abide abide in water. This is the divine practice of African traditional religion. And this practice is usually a practice of a minority of African, a minority that is found among the Bantu people and especially the Congo people. Aside from the divine practice, we have the human practice of African traditional religion. This practice, which is the practice of the majority of the African, implies the use of a power originally developed for the purification of thought in the divine practice and perpetuated through faith in matter and faith in the spirits of nature, perpetuated thus as a human power. This human power is used in order to organize, elevate, and protect society. So the two practices work together for the benefit of African society. We teach the divine practice, which is foundational to the Black civilization, even though it is seldom known. As such, we make reference to ancient age, therefore we are a Kemetic movement. However, ours is different from the what we call the traditional Kemetism. The traditional Kemetic movement started in the year 1970s in the United States, inspired by the seminal work of Sheikh Anta Diop, the Senegalese Zionist. It uses an eclectic approach to reconstruct the religion of ancient Egypt by using induction and speculation. However, the problem is with induction and speculation, you cannot reveal the religion of ancient Egypt as an exact science because induction in itself relies on deduction. How can it help you to arrive to deduction? It is impossible. Another point is that the traditional Tibetism is an anti-biblical movement, and it results in a religion belief, like all the religions of the world that are mere belief. This is not like our movement, which is called neo-Kemetism. Neo-Kemetism started in 2008. It started with the discovery of the Kemetic cosmological argument, an argument that allows one to state all the essential doctrines of solar religion, the religion of our ancestors, through deduction. Therefore, the Kemetic cosmological argument is a proof that our religion, in its true nature, in its original nature, in its divine nature, is an exact science. Yes, an exact science. Therefore, we use these natural systematic theology through comparative studies to come to the conclusion that there is a congruence between the Kemetic cosmological argument and the religion of ancient Egypt, the religion of Sumer, and Bukongo. Those three expresses in different nomenclatures the same religion, which is an exact science. Therefore, contrary to the traditional Kemites, the neo-Kemite practice a religion which is an exact science. the only religion in the world that has that characteristics. And we are not an anti-biblical movement because by using comparative study, we can show, we can discern what in the Bible belongs to us. The theme of our lecture, as I said before, is your right to divine intelligence. The Kemetic cosmological argument can be stated for the sake of this lecture in the following manner. I'm an individual being, you are individual beings, therefore, this temporal universe is an individual entity. Being an individual entity, this temporal universe is the work of an individual cause. Now, the individual nature of this cause, in view of the infinite possibility, begs the existence of all the causes that might be potential or effective. So we have effective and potential causes. Now, here I will introduce an hypothesis that I will prove later. The hypothesis is that every creation abides in its creator. Every creation exists in its creator. In view of this hypothesis, there is an entity which includes all the potential and effective causes. Since every creation exists in its creator, this last entity is the greatest possible being. Because any creation we can imagine will be in its cause, and that cause must be in this entity. Therefore, being the greatest possible being, this entity is the most high. Thus, the most high must be indivisible and immutable. Because if he were not, there might be a principle of his mutability and divisibility, and that principle must be greater than him, according to the law of causality, which requires of an effect an anterior and adequate cause. The Most High must be also transcendent. By transcendent, we don't only mean that he is above everything, this we all know. But by transcendence, the African people means that the Most High doesn't know evil. Because if he were to know evil, due to his absolute indivisibility, in him to know and to be are the same thing. Did God know evil? He will be infinitely bad and infinitely good, which is contradiction. Therefore, the Most High doesn't know evil. From now on, we will simply call this Most High being God. By God, we don't take the word God in the Anglo-Saxon meaning. We mean by God the ultimate cause who is indivisible, immutable, transcendence. Now, we have seen that each each creator, each cause, each potential and effective cause manifests an individuality which is included in God. However, God is indivisible. Therefore, we arrive to the conclusion that each potential and effective cause manifests the fullness of God, but in an individual manner. That fullness of God is what we call the Logos. So we have three celestial entities. We have God the Most High, we have the creators, the potential and effective creator that we can call the children of God, and we have the Logos, which is the fullness of God in each child of God. Now, let me come to the point of cosmology, and I will introduce the point of intelligence. I introduce the point of cosmology in order to prove my hypothesis that I introduced. The question is, where does creation exist in relation to God? We know that creation is in its creator by hypothesis, but in relation to God, creation cannot be in God because if it were at the moment of creation, something new will appear in God and God will change. However, we have seen that He is absolutely immutable. So creation doesn't exist in God. Creation cannot exist also outside of God because if it were, added to God, it will result in an entity greater than God, which is also impossible. So creation is neither in God, neither outside of God. It is like I tell you, Mr. X, who is in this studio, has a car, but his car is neither in the studio nor outside of this studio. The answer is very simple. The car is in his mind. And that is the proof of our hypothesis. Since creation is neither in God nor outside of God, creation is in its creator. Creation is only a limited perception of the celestial reality. Reality is invisible. Reality is spiritual. What we call matter is only a limited perception of reality. You have to note that this is a scientific statement. We arrived to this statement through deduction, through a, an exact science. Therefore, this statement is true because the premises are true. We have seen that God expresses his fullness in each one of these child. This expression of his fullness is an act of affection. God expressing an infinite affection to infinite number of children, he is love. But this is not what is more important for us. What is more important for us is this. By attributing an individuality to each child of God, God avoid an infinite confusion. And only an infinite intelligence can attribute infinite individualities to an infinite number of children and thus avoid an infinite confusion. Therefore, we have proved that God is intelligence. He is the principle of intelligence. We have seen also that God is impartial because he doesn't change. So he manifests the same intelligence to you, to me, to everybody. We have seen also that all reality must be in God because there cannot be a reality outside of God. If it were, that reality added to God will result in a reality greater than God, which is impossible. Therefore, all reality is in God. What we call material things are only limited perception of their celestial reality. Therefore, the human being is only a limited perception of his reality as a child of God and not Osiris. The word Osiris means child of God. In Bukongo, in the Congo religion, the equivalent of Osiris is Kimalungila, called also Kimaungu in the Lemba school. It appears from the Kemetic cosmological argument that the manifestation of intelligence, of divine intelligence by human being is a divine right of each one of us. In solar epistemology, that is the epistemology of the Black people, intelligence is not an activity of the brain, but it is the power to perceive. Please, it is the power to be receptive to the revelations of spiritual ideas coming from the Most High God through the channel of illuminated ancestors. It follows that we manifest divine intelligence to the extent of our conscious unity with these enlightened ancestors. We recognize this nature of intelligence by this phrase used by Africans. An idea came to me. An idea came to me. The white people will say, I conceived an idea. But the black people will say, an idea came to me. A common affirmation that we have learned to repeat since childhood without asking ourselves, where did it come? However, the answer is plausible from the enlightened ancestors. 11 years ago, the Academy in Tilaloa acquired a tool called risograph. It is a mimeographic and electronic scanning machine that is a printer that can print up to 150 pages per minute. However, when the machine arrived, we realized that it was broken down. It could not work. Since it was a new kind of machine in my town, I said to myself, if I look for someone to repair this machine, it won't work. It will be broken forever. Therefore, I decided, even though I never repaired such a machine, and I have no knowledge in mechanography, I decided to try to repair the machine myself. I was relying on the fact that God is my intelligence, and the divine intelligence is all knowing, even knowing the mechanics of these risograph. So I was praying this way for God to open my understanding to see what is good in the machine. Re- Remember, follow me good. I was not praying for God to tell me what is bad in the machine because God doesn't know evil. Rather, I was asking Him. I was asking God, that is, I was asking my ancestors because God answers our prayer through our ancestors. So when I say I was asking God, I mean practically that I was asking my divine, my holy ancestors to show me what in the machine was good. When you ask the ancestor to show you what is good, then what is wrong pops up itself. In this way, I repaired the machine and I used that machine to print my books. Each of us is capable of manifesting this divine faculty that we call intelligence because God, the Most High, has placed in each one of us His Logos, the power to manifest all divine qualities, including intelligence. However, sin causes the Logos in us to be nothing more than potential. Hence, the need for the purification of thoughts that the divine practice of African spirituality requires of us. This necessary of purification is a great lesson that the Egyptian Book of the Dead teaches us. In that book, Osiris Ani, the main personage of the book, in his afterlife claims the right to be an Osiris. The question is, he was already called Osiris, and he's claiming the right to be an Osiris. This means that he was an Osiris in a potential manner, and he's claiming the right to be so, to be a child of God in a manifest way. And the reason for his claim is that he has lived a life of purity. So we learn from this book that, as his name suggests, Ani was an Osiris, but potentially. He does clearly claim the right to become an Osiris in a manifest way. The condition for becoming an Osiris, that is a child of God, a Malungila, in a manifest way, is the purification of thoughts. Here we are in the divine practice of African traditional religion. Early Christianity has a solar religion, a religion which teaches the human being how to become back a child of God. Early religion teaches this same schema in 1 John chapter 3, verse 1 to 3, where we read, He with what love the Father has given us, that we should be called children of God. Behold, now are we children of God. And what we will be has not yet been revealed. And what we will be? The answer is obvious. We will be children of God because we are so now only potentially. And the author ends by saying, and whosoever has this hope in him purifies himself just as the Christ is pure. So you see, we have the same religion here, which is a solar religion, where human beings are potential children of God who have to become manifest children of God through the purification of their souls. In the divine practice of African traditional religion, scientific prayer for the purification affirm presently and sincerely that sin has never had the power to do us good and never will. This awareness and position undermines the foundations of sin and gradually makes of us an Osiris, an expression of divine intelligence in a manifest way. As neo-Chemites, I said this before, and unlike the traditional Chemites, we don't recklessly reject the Bible for two reasons. First of all, the great hunger prophet Simon Kimbangu taught us that the spiritual truths contained in the Bible belong to us. They were taken from the writings of our ancestors. Secondly, through comparative study with the community cosmological argument, we can scientifically establish the biblical truths that are part of the solar religion. And one of these truths is that the human being is a potential Osiris to become manifest one through the purification of thoughts. Let me here return to the experience of repairing my risograph, our risograph, to emphasize that the solution, because I had a mechanic problem and I had also an electronic problem. When I finished repairing the mechanic part, the electronic part wasn't working. Now, I didn't know how to solve that problem having no knowledge in electronic. I prayed again to, to the ancestors to show me how to arrive to the solution. An intuition came to me to unplug every connection and to put it back again. I did, and the machine worked. For solar thinking, what we call intuition is an ancestor speaking to you in an non-audible manner. Therefore, the more you obey to your intuitions, the clearer they will become. As an African, you have to obey to your intuition. I said this to a couple of white person. They told them, we don't think the same way, you and us. They said, how? And I told them, for the black people, intuition comes before reason. It means that when you tell me something, if my intuition convinces me of the contrary to what the reason is telling me, I will follow the intuition. And they told me, these we can never do. I said, yeah, that is the difference between you and the black people. Because we believe that every reasoning is a revelation. Knowledge comes from the ancestor. Therefore, knowledge is always revelatory. In conclusion, intelligence is a gift from the Most High to each one of us. The closer we get to the enlightened ancestors, the more intelligence we manifest. The, and the divine means of approaching these elevated beings is the purification of thoughts. This purification is based on the present and sincere affirmation of the fact that sin has never had and never will have the power to do us good. Undermining the foundation of sin in this way allows us to manifest our Osiris nature, which includes the expression of divine intelligence. Thank you so much.
If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share. More on this subject can be found on my books available at Amazon.